Okay, so I broke into Hawk Nest, but I swear I haven't done anything else naughty. Aside from that.
I don't buy it. I don't buy any of it.
Why do you assume everything he says is a lie?
Because that's the safe option.
What about fair play? What about justice?
What about me letting you press the button on the randomizer today, Tiger?
Well, I'll tell you. I'm ready. Just let me at it.
Oh, see, that was easily resolved. Zero, is he feeling all right?
He do look a bit pale.
Okay, Tiger, let's see what you've got us today. Ah, okay. Well, it's not a Terrorhawks episode.
Space, fire, and damnation.
But it is still a quality episode from a quality show with some quality explosions.
To match the fire in my eyes.
Well, maybe. Here's Joe 90, Attack of the Tiger. This is gonna be a good one. Hello everybody, welcome back to Joe 90 on the Randomiser. And here we are opening with a WIN agent played by Captain Oka. He's keeping an eye on a seemingly, ordinary bit of jungle desertish terrain, but uh-oh, some rocks are sliding away. There's a sort of installation slash base slash lots of guns everywhere slash kind of thing. For we are in the Eastern Sector, and this is an Eastern Alliance base. And there's a warhead rocket thingy being raised into position. I love this old supercar jungle music, by the way, here. I love the way this is used. I love the way this episode generally uses music from old shows.
So it is true.
Yeah, there it is. Our rocket is now in vertical position. Oh, lots of cannons being put into position all over the place. That's enough for Oka. He's getting out of there, but he's left his binoculars behind. Which is, if you're a highly trained WIN agent, the first thing you do is don't leave your stuff behind when you go near an enemy base, because enemy bases have cameras. And Captain Brown... Yep, he spotted those binoculars. We're going to close everything down for a while. Lock away all those guns. Close up that missile complex. Because the hunt is on for Captain Oka. So we're back from the opening titles, and yeah, I know it's not really Captain Oka, it's just the Captain Oka puppet, but it is hard when you see those identifiable Scarlet puppets appear in later shows not to think, oh yeah, it's that guy. And I think probably the Oka puppet was the most often reused in later shows. Certainly he would get far more prominent roles than, say, Magenta or... Scarlet, Blue, White. They would get occasional guest appearances. Oka seems to be consistently one of the most reused, if not the most reused, puppet from the Captain Scarlet regulars, which is nice if you're a Captain Oka fan like me. Anyway, he's now being chased into the woods by these soldiers. This is WIN Agent Fez. That the Oka puppet is playing here. It's confusing as well because there's another very similar episode around this time that also has the Oka puppet playing a WIN agent voiced by the same actor, Gary Files. But I do love the way they've realised this jungle here. I love this whole feel of the area around this Eastern Alliance complex. It's a long way from like the jungles of, say, Supercar or even into like Stingray and Thunderbirds. It just feels like there's this endless, vast, inhospitable waste of vegetation and swamp.
410. Confirm complex is complete. We'll pass detailed description later. Operation Tiger commences in 10 days. Map references IFS 104827.
Oh, there's that IFS, International Fixed System, that was mentioned a lot in Anderson shows around this time in films, Thunderbird 6 most notably.
Did you send that report to HQ?
Yes, sir. It went off this afternoon.
Good.
And here's a couple of good chaps. We know they're good chaps because they're Westerners, not like those dirty Eastern people. Very naughty.
What do you want?
Take me to the military intelligence. It's vital.
Yeah, these are border guards or checkpoint soldiers or something.
Who's in charge here?
Calm down, sir. Can I see your identification?
I must see someone in authority.
Oka has made the mistake of standing with his back to a window.
Get outside and see if you can see anything.
Sir.
Yes, sir. I'll go outside and risk getting shot, sir. Brilliant idea. Well, that's it. Oka is dead. But, well, he's got a sonic screwdriver. That's going to be relayed to WIN.
Professor, Joe, I'd like you to listen to this.
When you go to buy your tea,
look for the pack on which you see
Punjanity, Punjanity.
This fine blend deserves its fame,
'cause no other tea tastes just the same.
Punjanity.
Maybe not.
Hours 4:10. Confirmed complex is complete. Operation Tiger commences in 10 days. Out.
What does it mean, Sam?
FEZ was the code name of one of our agents working in the Far East, number 26. He was killed at the border. At that scrap of information, together
Now, this is something I like about this show's
our worst fears.
its use of spy motifs. It, unlike Thunderbirds with Lady Penelope, it does make being a spy seem extremely dangerous.
They intend to put a nuclear device into orbit around the Earth in 10 days' time and hold the world a ransom.
I mean, not just for things like that, but in terms of the actual like agents that you send in.
Operation Tiger.
Very few of them in this show ever come out. Sometimes some of them come out and they end up in hospital. Even Joe doesn't escape unscathed, and I really like that with this show, is that they are sending people off on basically suicide missions, almost. I mean, FEZ has been sent to the Far East, and okay, he got the information back, but he had a very hard time doing it, and ultimately died. So it was.
Well,
I think it's very commendable. This show, again, we're riding on the sort of Bond mania of the time, the spy craze, but we're not going to glamorize this, and especially considering this is a kids show.
Detail a series of modifications to be carried out on the VG-104. The work must have absolute...
It's extremely realistic in a way that it probably didn't need to be, but I thoroughly appreciate that it is.
WIN will have our complete cooperation. Just one thing. If you could tell me a little more about the operation, I could decide on the pilot to be assigned to you.
That won't be necessary, General.
Mr. Louvain, the VG-104 is the most complex aircraft flying today.
Ooh.
It takes an experienced pilot a year to master it. You have to use one of our men.
Don't worry, General. WIN will supply the pilot with all the knowledge and experience required.
Even if we have to steal it from someone's brain.
Yes, Joe. He shouldn't be much longer.
Meanwhile, in our stealing people's thoughts department, Joe and Mac are waiting for this chap to leave in his car. That's from his house. And this is another Captain Scarlet regular, Dr. Fawn, who's been given a snazzy moustache for his appearance as...
Amazing what you see on the roads these days.
Fearless Foley, ex-World Air Force pilot. And I think this moustache that they've given him now stays with the puppet for the rest of his career. He's wearing this when he's Saunders in the Secret Service.
Blast, he didn't give a signal.
Well, we were going to force him off the road, Dad.
All right, Joe. We'll take a shortcut and catch him up.
Ah, that's it. Joe 90 and Professor McLean, licensed to just do whatever the hell they want. Yay! This is nice. Again, this is a padding sequence in an episode that has a couple of padding sequences, but it's nice when it's backed by this music. So having taken the wrong turn, Joe and Mac, they're just going to take the jet air car
There he is, Dad.
over the fields until they catch up with him.
I won't, Joe. It's a straight road with no turn-offs.
I'll aim for the tyres, Dad. Good, Joe. It's nice as well, considering that I couldn't play the opening titles because it was easier to cut them.
I thought they took the other road.
We get to hear the theme anyway, which is always nice because it makes me so happy.
What's that madman trying to do?
He's trying to overtake you before you crash off the edge of the set. There's, again, another one of those shots from behind of a vehicle accelerating along a road, and there's clearly no road at the edge of the set, at least in HD.
You're angry, Dad. Be careful.
Only to be expected, Joe. Bring the portable recorder.
Right, Dad.
So...
What are you playing at? There could have been a serious accident.
Yeah, this is quite unusual. Joe and Mac just...
Road.
My name's Professor...
They're not being placed in a position where they can naturally acquire this guy's brain pattern. So they've gone out into the world just to hunt him down and...
with the steel nerve and lightning reaction...
record him out in the open.
Handle the situation.
Dad, this gentleman isn't... He couldn't be Fearless Foley, could he?
Oh, it's the papers, you know, these ridiculous nicknames they give people. That's not the point.
I do like this character, actually. It's a shame he's only in this one scene because...
of course, I will pay him.
He is very believable as this...
I think that...
as this guy who's a former pilot who's clearly...
Record your brain pattern.
Oh, dear.
Then I can fly a VG-104 just like you.
Clearly fed up of his own legend.
Pattern? I don't understand.
The fawn puppet actually made a nice sort of sideways glance to Joe just there.
Unbalanced.
Like, oh no, you've recognised me.
Thank you for obliging my son. He works for world intelligence. You know.
Really?
And again, that reaction, it's a perfect blend of great voice acting and a great look for a puppet. And again, I do like the look of the Dr. Fawn puppet. That's it. His brain being recorded. Being added to the list of the many brains that we have recorded without consent. But it's all in a good cause, ultimately. Mostly.
Hello, Mac. Joe?
Is something wrong, Uncle Sam?
The VG-104 won't be ready till 24 hours before that enemy rocket's due to blast off.
Oh, no.
That's cutting it pretty fine, Sam.
That's worse. Intelligence reports that they've moved in ground-to-air missiles. The defenses were already formidable. It's going to be one of the most dangerous assignments you've ever undertaken, Joe.
I'll try not to let you down, Uncle Sam.
Yeah. We'll try to save the world, if possible. He's not going to make any promises. Oh, this is nice as well. Again, I like this setup of this base, as I've said before. I think, that a lot of it as well takes place at night. That always does wonders for the effects in these things. Makes the world seem much more believable. Joe is now being brained up. Oh, that was odd. We heard the we heard the sound of the rat trap opening before it even stopped, and then we heard it again when it did open.
Well, Joe, you now have the brain patterns of the most experienced pilot of the VG-104 in the World Air Force, and that of an expert on the Eastern Alliance defense systems.
Correct, Mac.
Lucky you.
Right, let's get to that final briefing.
Shane Weston seems to have disappeared considering how important this all is. He wasn't even in his office earlier.
Missions have been carried out, Mr. Luver. Extra fuel tanks, special adapted...
Ah, a map of the world.
Firepower all round. Right down to the tiger on the nose.
Thank you, General.
Well, as soon as your pilot arrives, we can begin.
He's here already.
You mean yourself, Mr. Luver?
No, I mean Joe. This mission requires specialized knowledge and experience. No one man possesses it. Take it from me, General. Joe does.
If I didn't have a written order from the world president himself...
Ooh, world president mentioned.
I'd call the whole mission off.
But you have. So let's begin.
All right. If you will look at the map, the VG-104 will fly on a direct route to here. Although the aircraft has been fitted with extra fuel tanks, the added payload of bombs and rockets will make it necessary to refuel.
Refuel.
Method will be used, I presume.
Yes.
Again, a nice double take from that puppet there. This is the International Fix System. Yes, this is the Major Gravener puppet that we saw many times in Captain Scarlet.
As WIN have insisted on keeping the exact location of the rocket base a secret, presumably the rest of the route has been plotted by members of your staff.
It's all been taken care of.
Very well. We will use communications wave band 1524. Your code name is Tiger.
Don't giggle.
General, you have made each point quite clear.
Well, I don't pretend to even begin to understand all this, but a heavy responsibility rests on your shoulders, young man. The future of the world could well be in your hands.
I like the voice that Jeremy Wilkin is doing for that character there. Also how accepting he is of Joe's going out to save the world. Bit confused by the thing at first, but ultimately, nah, he's on board with it. It's that, I don't know what you call that, that voice where there's sort of, we're having trouble pronouncing our R's. It kind of fits a military airbase commander. It's sort of a throwback to the old days of the Biggles-ish pilots of Thunderbirds. Again, with Fearless Foley's moustache there. That was quite reminiscent of that too. And that's it. There he goes.
Good luck, Joe.
Be careful, son.
Off to save the world. From those naughty Eastern people and their naughty rockets.
Tiger to base. Levelled off at 50,000. On course. Out.
Yeah, the use of the Tiger call sign in this episode isn't quite as funny as it is in Spectrum Strikes Back.
Here, Mac.
You're right, Sam. Let's get back to the cottage.
Yes. Sam Loover must regard this as a very cushy number. Now he's got Joe. He gets to spend so much time sat on his backside at the cottage, drinking coffee and tea, having biscuits. It's wonderful for him.
Well, he should be making the refueling rendezvous about now.
Yeah. He won't switch to the wind wave band until he crosses the enemy coast.
Yeah, here's another sequence of padding. Again, it's nicely realistic that Joe would have to have a mid-air refueling halfway there.
Tiger to tanker. I have visual contact. Coming in for rendezvous.
Understood. Out.
But there's no real sort of weight or drama to this beyond the lovely music and the lovely models. I'm afraid refueling scenes for me have been well, if you've ever seen a little movie called The Starfighters, which most of you won't have seen, yes, my thoughts on refueling scenes are very low.
Stand the waiting.
Now they've got tea.
Mac. He'll be overflying the coast any minute.
They've broken out their best china for the tea.
He's alone against the enemy.
Oh well. More tea.
Thanks, boys. Be seeing you.
Good luck, Tiger.
Oh. See, there's no snickering. This was back in the days where you could call someone Tiger and there was no snickering. Again, I think that's the last time we hear Tiger. It's not. It really isn't as bad as it ends up sounding in Spectrum Strikes Back. Some lovely under control work on the Joe puppet there, because they're tilting they're moving the plane cockpit set, and obviously Joe's being worked from below. The puppeteer is having to accommodate that movement.
I've got the picture, Sam.
He's got one hand on the controls and another on his radio. And more lovely reused Stingray music as the Eastern Alliance once again open up their secret rocket base. Lovely stuff. I think this is my, if not my absolute favourite piece of Stingray music. It's definitely up there. I love the soundtrack for The Big Gun, which is the episode this comes from. And again, just shows how versatile the music for Stingray was in particular, because it's used so often in all the later shows.
38 miles from target.
That's it, Joe is on his way. Just crossing over this bleak, inhospitable, Far Eastern terrain, I really like how isolated and remote and dangerous this feels. Little perimeter stations, little radar towers and such. As he gets closer. But I wonder how things are going in Marineville. Yeah, there's no disguising that music, is there?
8 miles. 7.
But it's lovely to hear it again. It's nice that they feel enough time has gone by that we could maybe reuse this as something that isn't Marineville related, but it's the Marineville battle stations, isn't it? And the commander of this base is the Captain Brown puppet, who seems to have been sort of mutilated somewhat into to having a sort of Asian appearance. But I believe there would have been several Captain Brown puppets, so it probably wasn't the original. I think we probably see the original again after this episode anyway. But now, Joe is under fire.
You were right, Sam. I think I've woken them up.
Ooh. I do love as well the shots of the Joe's jet in the sky as the explosions are going off around it. And I can't quite tell what it is about these explosions, but they almost look, I don't know, they almost look like they're not on the image as such, but they definitely are. They just look slightly superimposed at times. I think it's just maybe they're happening so close to the camera that the perspective is a bit off.
Sam, they're bound to hit me sooner or later.
Listen, Joe, you've got to get that rocket. It's fueled, ready for blast-off. One direct hit should do it.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam, I'm going in again.
Sounds like a really easy mission. But the ground forces are not making it easy for him. And I believe this episode was one that was translated into, well, not translated, but adapted into one of those sort of 8mm film reels, which I suppose is... I love that Captain Brown puppet, spouting a complete nonsense. Yeah, I suppose it's a very basic Joe story in the same way that the same section of Business Holiday is. Joe goes to blow up an enemy base. That's basically all the story is. And he has succeeded. He's hit the missile. And now the base is very slowly going up in flames. There is a deleted shot here, I think, that appears... Oh, maybe it wasn't adapted to 8mm. Maybe it was on Viewmaster. But there is a shot that doesn't appear in the episode of the base commander with his hands over his head as debris is falling on top of him, which sounds suitably violent for this show. I wouldn't have minded seeing that. But regardless, Joe has saved the day, blown up the enemy base, saved the world, in fact. And it's all in a day's work.
Mission accomplished. The base is totally destroyed.
Yeah, thinking about it, I think it probably was just a Viewmaster set and not an 8mm thing.
Fine, Mac. I'll be home for breakfast.
Breakfast? It's 2 a.m. here. I'm going to bed.
Out.
Breakfast? Oh, no. You've got school in the morning, young man. Well, as Joe flies off into the sunset, that was Attack of the Tiger, and I really like that one, as obviously I really like most Joe 90 episodes. That is somewhat a very basic idea. You know, Joe goes off to blow up another enemy base, and to be fair, we've seen that several times before. But I think what makes this work is some of the side moments, particularly the side characters. Fearless Foley, that's a nice little detour that adds a little to the story, not much, but it's a nice moment. I do especially really like, though, the Eastern Alliance base, the way they make that immediate area feel so inhospitable and so dangerous. They say this is the Far East, and it really feels about as far out as Joe would ever be sent on a mission. It feels really hostile and inhospitable and dangerous, and it doesn't make the spy thing look glamorous. It makes it look down and dirty and real. It's almost sort of bordering on something like the Sandbaggers in that sense, what we see FEZ going through. So yeah, I really like that establishing landscape of that base, and some nice action from Joe, some nice explosions. He saves the day, he saves the world, because of course he does. He's Joe 90 and he's absolutely brilliant.